Peace, everybody. Welcome to the probably seventh tribe chat that we've had with the Tribe Learning Co op. And this month we're focusing on rhythms of homeschool. And we have some beautiful panelists here to share with us today. And we will do intros in just a moment. Going to allow space for some folks to enter into our stream. I'm not sure if there's a way that we can like tell when that happens on here exactly.
Yeah.
Maybe, maybe not. Well, and in the interest of using our voices and these good looks that we have on this screen, I wanted to just kind of jump in and share a little bit about the Tribe Learning Co-op. I am Nika, lovingly referred to as Mama Nika of the Tribe Learning Co-op. And we are a community of individuals who do an assortment of things around homeschooling, unschooling, self-directed learning. And we got our start in Chicago, actually, where we used to meet physically and often and love on our children together and stretch all of the borders and boundaries around how we could learn together, birth our babies together, and a lot of us have moved in the past couple of years. So we're bringing all of that goodness to the virtual realm and stretching in that way. And this tribe chat series is something that we offer in an effort to kind of develop community around topics that are interesting to us, to our audience, and people who are living similar lives as us. So, today we're going to be talking about our unique rhythms of learning, whether we refer to that as homeschooling or not. And to hear from some people who are actually doing it in their lives, have been doing it for some time. And I'll leave it at that and just invite folks, as you come in, if you have questions or comments, just put them inside of the comment box and we'll take a look at them and hopefully the panelists will have space to answer. And how about we start our intros with my co-facilitator, Mama Kaiya.
Hello. I'm Mama Kaiya. I am 1/5 of the Tribe Learning Co-op co-founders. I'm a mom, I'm a wife, I'm a doula, I'm a homeschooling mom, and just the overall woman. I mean, that's the best way to sum up my whole life. I really enjoy what I do. I enjoy being resourceful, and I enjoy being a part of the tribe. And I'm really glad that you guys are here and joining us in this lively conversation. It's something that I really appreciate and enjoy. So thank you guys for being here. So I guess we'll go ahead and we'll give space for everybody else to go ahead and introduce themselves. So let's start with Saladin.
Peace. Good evening, everybody. How y'all doing? Good.
Good.
Right. So to tell you a little bit about myself, uh, I'm a Capricorn. I like 7th century Persian poetry. I enjoy long walks in the park. Um, no, I'm just messing with y'all. But I'm thankful to just be on this panel with all of you to just talk about something that's as important as education. Um, in terms of my background, I've been working with youth for about 20 years in various different capacities, from preschool age up to college age. My main focus is early childhood education, and I taught preschool for a while. And within the last 4 years, I transitioned to working with students in 2nd grade and 6th grade that have learning disabilities. And through that journey, um, what I've eventually been able to do was to secure a property that I'm actually converting into an early childhood learning center and an after school program known as the Atlantis School for Gifted Youngsters. So that's kind of like the culmination of all the different work that I've been doing over the years. And, I'll be able to share a little bit more about that in this space tonight. Peace.
Thank you. Thank you. Next, we're gonna ask Ajira to go ahead and tell us a little bit about herself.
Hey everyone, my name is Ajira. My pronouns are she, they. I'm calling in from occupied Tongvaland today. I'm a full spectrum birth worker and a parent to two transcendent beings. And I think that, I guess, what I want you to know about where I'm coming from, sharing in the conversation we're going to be having today, is really a trust and a faith in our each of our own innate wisdom and expertise around ourselves and how we learn and what we want to learn and why. And being a birth worker, I say since I was 3, since my mother had my first youngest sibling, has really influenced that. That knowing that children really need much less interference than the colonial capitalist white supremacist delusion that we exist in suggests. So yeah, that's all I want to say for now. Thanks.
Thank you, Mama Lissah. Oh, Mama Lissah, we can't hear you. Can anybody else hear her? We can't hear you, Mama Lissah.
I was on mute. Can y'all hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Hey, I'm Lissah, also known as Mama Lou. I'm also a full spectrum birth keeper. So that is biggest passions and work at the moment. I'm also an herbalist within the Hoodoo tradition. I've been doing plant spirit medicine for the last 7 years. Of Rebirth Society, which is an organization that works to serve the African Indigenous community through including birth work, of course, at the root, at the birth on, but then supporting the people, the village, through stages of life. So that goes from mental health, of course, physical health, definitely holistic, but it extends into all the many sustainability, different things along that line. Rebirth. Um, Outside of that, for my community and also, of course, for my family, to homeschooling, really breaking free from a lot of different things within this structure of capitalism and everything. Many of you here today, viable option for my family getting to learn about ourselves, value the way that our present and our future and what we can do with that. Study and focus on our history and just our journey through humanity, especially through being in this land as African American, all the things we've been through over time. Those lessons as a insight, foresight, kind into our learning experience. A bit of like I have a thing for, so I am finding a healthy balance between calling that the structural flow of things, just trying to around my own neurodivergence as well as that is a like big part of the reason, just because of the learning needs of myself and my just learning more about neurodivergence and ways to myself, reparent myself, and teach them through that. It's just a big part of schooling scope. So yeah, entrepreneur and a member. So happy to be here, to have been able to you all like in the flesh while I was in Chicago, to extend that community and that to like spaces like these. So I'm super excited. That's it for now.
Well, we're really excited for you to be here. Thank you, Mama Lissah. All right, our next panelist is Mama Jessica, who is also a co-founder.
Yes, hello everyone. My name is Mama Jessica, and my journey looked to that, but I started off in I had an at-home daycare, and within that, I started like a women's sisterhood group, just like bringing up women's issues and just having conversation. It's called Women Let's Speak. And when I came back to Chicago, I became a birth worker shortly after my second child, and I met Nika, and we met our other tribe members. And the tribe was a place where it kind of intertwined everything that I birth work to childhood education to nutrition, holistic living, to community, to village, to tribe, everything. It was like everything, like other like-minded families and sisters that I can really build this up and out with, because this was always something I did on an individual level. But when it came to just meeting our tribe, we was more on like each other's health and our children's like learning how we wanted to learn. We just wanted to unlearn and relearn and just figure out ways to innovate something better than what we had experienced. And so I am grateful to be here to just talk about my journey and how it's been transitioning, and but I'm still here and I'm still homeschooling. We're always homeschooling even when we're not. So I'm great. I'm grateful to be here. I'm grateful to take some tips and tools to just learn how to, do it better. So thank you all for joining our first panel. Woo woo.
Right, thank you. All right, our next panelist is JJ.
Hi everyone, I'm JJ. I am the parent of 2 self-directed learners. We travel a lot. I'm just like to raise free children. I'm one of the admins of a large world schooling group on Facebook, and we have subgroups like for single parents and people of color. And we just travel around and enjoy life.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Sorry.
All right. And we have Miss Lillian Peacock as our final panelist.
Hi, you all. I have been homeschooling for, my eldest is 21 years. And before that, I was a Sunday school teacher. Still am a Sunday school teacher. My whole concept of homeschooling was each individual person is unique and precious, and you just can't put them in a box. They just don't fit in a box. They have to be developed and cultured and given an environment where they can grow and flourish to their fullest potential. And so my whole philosophy in homeschooling is I'm going to find out what that person needs to be the very best individual they need to be. and then cultivate that environment until they get grown. And even after they're grown, I'm here as wise counsel and to help walk you through life. I think that parenting and homeschooling are hand in hand in development of a human being, creating an environment where a person can be their very best. And so one thing I realized too about homeschooling, it helped me to see the lies that perpetuated throughout society about people being puppets, people being groomed to be taught to think a certain way so it could be somebody else's employee. And that really drove me off the wall. I never wanted my children to be somebody else's slave or puppet. So for me, it was all about saying, here, I want you to have the financial understanding, the spiritual understanding, and the social ability to handle every situation you come across, and you dominate in situation, you take over the situation, and not be somebody's puppet. And so for me, homeschooling was all about, how can I get this person to be the fullest individual possible? And my two oldest sons are in college right now, a senior and a sophomore, and I'm already grooming them to make sure they're financially successful without having a job. But I know that people like that piece of paper because that's just a tactic they have in so you can get in the door. So I have them go through the college experience. But I'm so grateful that their first years of schooling was through me, and how this is see society and how African Americans fit in that society, and how they are trying to be excelled out, right, pushed out anxiety, and for them to dominate. And so that's where I'm all about homeschooling. I'm like, I want to know everything I possibly can from every person I can to be the best person, and then send that to my children so their generations are better than I am. That's how my whole view is.
Woo! You just brought so much fire to this conversation. Thank you. That's what we needed. Okay, I think we was a little asleep for a minute, but all right. I didn't need my coffee. This was perfect. Thank you so much. Yes. Mama Nika, thank you.
Enthusiastic. Did you mute me? Am I okay? Can you hear me?
I unmuted you.
Oh, okay. Because I unmuted myself. But I just want to thank you all for your intro, sharing your energy, sharing what makes you you, because that's really why we wanted to have this conversation. I think sometimes it can feel like there's this one size fits all, like we bring this schoolish mentality to what we are doing, and it's easy to kind of put us in boxes and operate within binaries. And this is exactly what we wanted to cultivate. So thank you for being present for this. And I wanted to start off by just kind of asking everyone to reflect and share about what it feels like to kind of carve your own path as it pertains to the ideas of learning and achievement. And this question is coming from this idea that, if you don't exist within a standardized system, whether that's in school or bringing like schoolish tactics into your home or your, however you learn, then there's no way to like tell if your children are learning or tell if you're learning or if you're meeting some criteria, whatever this criteria of like, being able to sustain and survive when you become an adult, which, many of us are still struggling with that based in, the school logic. But I just want to kind of pose that to the group. Just what is your relationship to learning and achievement as it relates to how we all understand it in like a schoolish model? What's your unique way of relating to that? And just jump in however you want.
I'm ready.
I'm gonna ask you to just carry this one out. Re so.
What's that, Lissah?
I said, can you just repeat the question one more?
For sure. I guess put more simply, how have you been processing your own conditioning to learning and achievement, and how that shows up in your current learning journey with your family? I can also type it in here.
I don't know if we should raise our hands or just share. But my biggest thing is learning. I took the information I learned regular traditional school and blew it up. I really did want to make sure that the children read as much as possible, all the things they should have learned and shouldn't have learned. I think learning and achievement is based on basically they should know their timetables, their numbers. They should know how to read, but it's what they read and how they get their numbers. Like when I talk about not making money, when I talk about making money, I taught them mathematics and stuff through making money, starting a business. So it was the tactics I used to get the conventional ways of training into my children. And I think that's what my biggest thing for homeschool was is in the nothing too is each child was different. One child learned totally different way than all the other children. I'm like, oh my goodness, I had to relearn how to teach them. And I just realized that homeschooling is all about how do I reach this person with getting the basic things to make sure that they know how to navigate this society. And that's some traditional, but also some non-traditional ways. And I'm saying that works different for each person, each family. You have to understand what scope, because some things that work for your family won't work for other people's families, just because of the environment and people they meet along their journey, their way.
Right. So it sounds like you had to kind of unlearn or relearn in a way to teach them how to learn in such a way. Yeah. Wow.
And making it practical to like their real life, it's great to learn how to multiply.
Right. They're growing up in a whole different society than we are. Another thing too is subtle too. It's not just basically you have to need to multiply. You have to actually know how to work I feel like this. People have their own way of doing stuff, but how do you navigate the social perspectives and people while still increasing how you operate in this earth? And yes, you have to know the basics. Like I did the PSAT, ACT, SAT because they should know that kind of stuff. For me, I thought my family should know that. At the same time, I was teaching them all the stuff that certain people are taught this way. They're using this kind of model. So I'm going to use it too. I'm going to find out whatever people are using. I'm going to add as many tools to the toolbox so each one of my children are excelling. And if that means unschooling, non-schooling, Montessori, traditional, whatever they need at that particular time, I'm going to grab it and say, this is what you need to navigate this situation, because you're going to meet these people and you're going to meet this type of people. You're going to meet this kind of person, and you want to be able to communicate with them and still navigate society.
To add on to what she's saying, I think we're speaking about utility value, which is the value of the task at hand in its relationship to our future. And I think a lot of times when we talk about education comes from the Latin root educere or educare, which means to draw out. And when you look at the process a lot of times, which is called education, that's not the process of what's happening. People are being inundated with a lot of ideas and information and basically learning how to be cogs in a machine.
Yep.
You don't have people who are really in the process of educating or striving to draw out the qualities in a person. And when you have an educational backdrop where the focus is the utility value, while children are learning, okay, what is the actual purpose and the value of this task, and how does it relate to something significant? Children have much more of an attraction and a sense of investment when they're being taught that, because they can actually see the use and its practicality. Yep. But if they're being taught that math is on a chalkboard and it's these numbers, as opposed to mathematics is the costume of the universe, and everything that you see around you operates off of that system of mathematics, then worlds open up to you and they learn to see their place as well as the significance in any and everything that they're learning. So a part of my philosophy is the same as what the sister was just sharing. Turn everything into a classroom. How can you learn from any and everything, whether that is calculus or whether that is watching ants in the backyard? How can you learn from anything, and what is its what is the utility value of what it is to strive and learn? And I think that as long as we're in those spaces where we're able to connect with youth and show them that you're not just wasting your time doing this and that it has a significant value to you in the future, then a lot more youth take ownership of the time that's actually being invested in them in terms of this learning process.
Yeah, I was trying to teach algebra to my son, and he looked at me like I was crazy. And then I turned it into property management. You have X amount of funds to finish a rehab. He's like, oh, I understand that. Then I said, now substitute these numbers in there. You only had this amount from this credit card. You got this from a personal loan. And then now you have to get your money back out and refinance. He was like, oh, I understand that. Algebra opened up and unveiled to him. And my other children, I just have to know exactly what the book says. So I taught him just like the book says, and then I taught him the other part. But my other son, he did not catch it until I said, you buying this property. You have to rehab it. This is what we're gonna do. And he's like, oh, I got that. Algebra was a breeze from that point on. How do you take real world stuff and make it so clear to them that they like it's just become everything, just fits into place for them? That's homeschooling. That's our job as parents to do for our children.
You know what? I think one thing that you're also demonstrating is that education is really meeting someone where they are, as opposed to having some type of lofty expectation that they need to get on our levels. Even when you look at the way a lot of the traditional Western schools are set up in a hierarchy, that it's not being taught from that perspective of striving to meet people where they are. It's kind of like I've seen a lot of teachers that don't know nothing, but yet they're giving you the grade. So you better write down the wrong answers on that test in order to get that grade. That's not no education, you know?
What's coming up for me is I'm listening to everyone and reflecting on that question, which is a great question because I think it's one of the key pieces of parenting as well as life learning or unschooling or homeschooling or whatever folks want to call not learning within the system. And there are two pieces that really come up. One is that the system is not broken. It's working exactly as it was designed. And it was designed to exclude and subjugate people who look like me, right? People who look like us. And I think another piece is that schools are not designed to educate people. They're designed to indoctrinate folks with obedience and hierarchy. You're supposed to leave that system understanding exactly where you fit in. And for people that look like us, it's usually right at the bottom. And so I'm not interested in perpetuating that, right? I'm interested in divesting from the system as much as I possibly can. And I don't think it's useful to talk about, oh, the system is broken and we can fix it if we put a Band-Aid here or put some chewing gum there. Like, no, thank you. I don't want to seat at this frickin' table. I want to build my own potluck situation over here with with the people who are down to create something different and better. So, and another aspect that I think is affirmed constantly is that humans and children and babies in particular are designed to learn. Like, we learn so fast when we're interested in something, when we're excited about it, when we're motivated by need or by, circumstances to learn whatever it is we need to learn in order to get to wherever it is that we're trying to go. So the idea that some random old white man from God knows when who sat down and decided people need to learn this in this order is the expert on all of that, I just can't get on board with it. So additionally, as someone whose family members hold a multitude of marginalized identities, I also recognize that, being within the system in any way, in any shape or form, immediately comes with my needing to make concessions about who I am or what I need in order to fit in and in order to be found acceptable and in order to advance in whatever way people have decided is the best way to do that. So what I've needed to do is really continuously work on my own conditioning to release all of that and to trust, right? To trust the process, to trust that, you know, offering my children the opportunity to explore, to learn, is enough. And that can be so hard when, you know, my own conditioning, as well as the way that our system exists, and the way that it functions, is constantly telling me that this is not the way to do it. My children are doomed to fail, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I think that it's because this is a threat, like allowing people to think for themselves, allowing people to determine their own path, allowing people to divest from, you know, colonial capitalist white supremacist institution. All of that is a threat. And this system has spent hundreds of years, like centuries, honing how to get people to conform, how to get people scared enough to stay in the system, even if they recognize that it's hurting them more than it's affording them, you know, the privileges that it promises.
Thank you for that. Thank you so much,
Y'all
especially
are
for
definitely.
naming. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Lissah.
Oh, I was just gonna say, y'all are over here gathering me as we speak, because this is such a great starting question. This is like the question that is probably the most pressing for me right now. In the space that I'm in now, I've just moved back to my hometown with my family and Alabama football and all the things. And so I'm switching to my headphones. Can you all hear me?
Yeah, so more have been coming up for me as a children. I have two children. My old slightly different situations with them. My oldest even homeschool. My youngest son's father does. With that, there's this constant battle of really scrutiny over me and what I'm teaching. He's learning, kind of if he's achieving at the with my oldest son, and so it brings up a lot of things for me because I do schooling. I do believe in just all the I know that they're valid. I see them, these brilliant children who are doing this and they're learning their skills. They can, they can, and then I also have this pressure over my standards. Can he do what the other, 10-year-olds can do the other? And so it's really just rethink a lot of like what I consider to advance, how I validate myself, my information, my wisdom, and then how I'm so just hearing helping me because I want to be that healthy balance, where move him specifically away from the systematic learning, but also he can navigate this society, efficiently and effectively, and be able to he needs to do to be successful within the society in case he does decide to, because he just might, and more recently I've seen older people and some of the ways that I'm raising my children, feedback about it, negative feedback
Mama Lissah,
about, yes.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Can
Hello.
you? It was better quality with your headphones off. Some of our audience members really want to hear you.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Hello.
There you go.
Okay. Yeah, I would say I want to be able to ensure that, if either one of my sons decide they want to navigate this world more systematically than I personally would, or that I may want them to, that they would be equipped to do so. And also continue striving toward giving them the alternative, not to have to do that. So in doing that, I have been kind of like addressing some of these, my inner struggles with what that looks like, what achievement is, and just also standing my ground on what I do believe is, valid, what I do believe makes sense, just about this homeschooling, unschooling, non-conventional learning journey. So I really appreciate this question. I'm really learning a lot from what everybody is saying. And yeah, this is something for me to think on. But if there's any other parents out there who are struggling with that aspect of like, okay, how do I help them meet these standards? Or do these standards even matter? If they don't meet the standards, what does that mean? Those questions, I'm definitely here with y'all. And I'm still learning myself. So yeah, I just wanted to throw that in there.
Yeah, I'm fighting with my 16-year-old now. My daughter is snapping. I want to go to high school. I want to go to high school. I was like, you're not. So let's figure out what you really want. Well, I want to socialize. Okay, we're going to socialize. I'll find as many groups I possibly can that are like-minded, moving forward, so we can have you in environments where you're constantly learning and you get that satisfaction for socialization. Because that's the biggest thing they say about socialization. And I said, I have you doing this, I have you doing, but she said, I want more. So she's into guys and stuff. So it's like, you have to figure out, okay, now let me create an environment where I can find some decent guys, that are not crazy, that you still hang around, but they're still learning, because you have to learn how to communicate yourself in relationships, how to handle situations. You have to literally, as a parent, as homeschool parent, you're on a 24-hour a day, 7-day a week journey on creating an environment of learning in every aspect. And people don't realize when people get to high school, they have all these traumas happening to them emotionally, all because of the interactions with different people in high school. So you have to find that avenue for the child to learn and grow socially. And I just like what she said, navigating. Every parent is still going through it. I'm still going through that. My youngest is 7, my oldest is 21. And I got to constantly navigate, how much do I teach them in every aspect of their life? And it's so important, that as a parent, you find out what's most important for your child and help them in there. And you're not going to get somebody patting you on the back. My mother talked about me like a dog. And a lot of people talk to me like a dog when I first homeschooled. What do you think you're doing? You're acting white, homeschooling your child. Put them in school. Literally, that was what I heard constantly until they started excelling. Then they was like, oh, I knew it all along. People are so fickle. And you have to basically make a choice for your family. I'm going to do this. I don't need anybody to give me accolades. I'm going to handle my business, and you're going to take the heat. Because my husband got on me. My son needed help, and he said, you shouldn't be helping him to take his SAT or ACT or whatever. And I said, I'm going to help my son understand each and every problem on this test. And my husband got on me. I mean, literally, we had full out arguments about this. And I said, no, I'm going to help him. And then afterwards, when my son came back with 1,300 on this ACT, and he got a full scholarship, he said, oh, baby, you were right. See, people will talk about you like a dog in your face until you actually start producing well-rounded children, and they're not all crazy in the head. Because it doesn't mean if you go to school that they're going to be any less crazy. Each individual person makes a choice to how they're going to navigate their life. You're just helping them along the way. That's homeschooling for me. That's what I think homeschooling is.
I want to jump in. Is that okay?
I know, right? We all
Okay, sorry. Our style of learning is basically we learn by doing nothing, kind of. Like I just follow my kids' interests. They have no rhythm, no routine. They decide what they want to do. Every single day they wake up and they just kind of, some days they'll just sleep all day, but other days they'll play Minecraft all day. And I think that's equally as valid, because when you follow your passions, you learn about yourself more. And the goal is to raise a human from childhood to adulthood, not for me to teach them facts, right? So for them to be a well-rounded person, for them to follow their passions and interests, for them to travel and speak to other people and be able to navigate social situations. And my daughter, she taught herself to read when she was 5 because she wanted to play Minecraft and I didn't. So I told her, you want to learn, you want to play it, you got to figure it out. And so she just learned to read, and she just played Minecraft all day and just read and read and read. And that's how she followed her interest to support herself. So that's the way we do things, But also, I just find it incredibly valid to know that everything is heart-centered. I don't want to have any conflict with my kids over a book or a math equation. It doesn't feel cohesive to me.
I have a question for the panel.
Go ahead.
So as I mentioned earlier, I've been working with youth for 20 years, and even with my background in early childhood education, males or men, we are a very small minority just working in the education field, period, right? So even like as a child, early childhood educator, I'm like a black unicorn in that space. I never see someone that looks like me working with children that age, right? Um, so one thing that I've also noticed just through the years of working in education in those different capacities is that it's mostly dominated by women. I rarely see a lot of males or men even involved at all, whether that's a community event, whether that is in this type of space with this project, program, or initiative. I really don't see many of people like myself in those kind of spaces. I wanted to know what has been some of your experience, and do you all feel as if you're getting the consistent support that you would like from various different ways from men?
I'll jump in on that one because that kind of goes with what I wanted to say about learning. In childcare, we get babies. It's 3 months all the way up to 9, 10, 11, 12. And it was always the mother, pretty much. Like, it'll be a couple of dads. And that's, before I started that childcare, before seeing the attachment, separation, anxiety that they would have, from separating from their parents that early on. And it just made me, reading into that, like those nurturing ages of like the infancy to 4, how important that is to establish like a foundation within your child of the balance of masculine and feminine energy of that family unit. That's like such a crucial age. And in our culture, in our society, like our families are broken up by 1-year-old, 2 years old, are so quick to just choose other things, and it's so many other things that play into that. But when I had my children, I knew that the masculine and feminine energy working in harmony, and the child learning from seeing that example was success to me, because that would at some point allow them to balance their own masculine and feminine energy, because it's going to become, their characteristics, their DNA is coming from the father and the mother. So when it comes to just learning, and I just wanted to, my biggest my focus was to keep dynamic intact. And it's, when you want to do something, it's always so many attacks on that. When you're setting a goal to do something, to stick something, to have a commitment to something, there's always so many attacks on your goals. So when it comes to like learning and just trying to connect that to what you're saying about the masculine energy, I just believe that it's creating that harmony, because right now, like one of the sisters said, just like how these generations are coming up so different, and their problems are so different. And what I would say is just this tension between the masculine and the feminine energy is just like at an all-time high, where we aren't even able to coexist. We're not able to create these harmonious relationships to even give a child a good foundation to learn from or to grow from. So for me, I feel like I'm tying all this together as far as like the masculine and the learning. The question before that, as far as education, that was what was so important to me, was that I ensured that most precious ages, their most, ages that really develop them, those childhood wounds, all that would be, as much balance. I can provide as much balance as possible. And so that I've been going through that journey, because it's gonna really depend on your partnership with your mate, on what your needs are for that family, and what y'all need, what's best for the children. So that's what that question came in. So I hope it intertwined.
Thank you, Jessica. I wanted to take a brief pause just to kind of like breathe everything in and take any breaths that you might need to take, just from kind of witnessing everybody sharing in their own uniqueness. And then also just to name that two of our panelists will be having to head out soon. So I wanted to give some priority to their voices, and also just to maybe kind of shift the direction of the conversation just a little bit. We can always circle back around if time permits. But one of the things that a lot of our community members have kind of given us feedback or asked questions about is like some more maybe practical, logistical things around like how you get started on such a journey as the ones that we are all on. And I know that that looks very different. And something that kind of came through in some of the sharing was, I don't think this was explicitly named, but something that I felt a bit was like this fear of like not doing the right thing. And I think that maybe that's why this question of like, how do we start? How do we, start on this journey of being self-directed or world schooling or what have you? I think it is woven into this fear of failure that we are kind of like conditioned to have, like not just starting. And so I wanted to pose that question to the group, just in the case that Ajira and Saladin had anything to offer before you left, just around like, what advice could you give to someone who's like, yes, I'm feeling everything that you're saying. I resonate with some of these more foundational reasons for wanting to learn outside of the system and the standards. But like, how do I even start? Like, what is something that you might say to a person asking you that?
If I may, I think this is a question I've answered so many times, and it's a great question. It's an important question. I would say that the most important thing is for you to really figure out, ask yourself, what's your goal? Like, what's your motivation? What's your why? Why do you want to do this? And what is what's the end thing that you want? Because I think that's going to help you really determine whether it makes sense for you to do something that's more like, child-led learning, where you're really able to trust that your child will learn what they need to learn, when they need to learn it, through the process of learning and existing, or if that means that you need to set up a curriculum or find some kind of, system or rhythm that works for you and your family. And it's going to differ from place to place. The other thing that I would say is absolutely crucial is for you to give yourself and your family, especially if they've already been in some kind of, what do they call it? Conventional or traditional learning environment, to give yourself and your family time to de-school, time to adjust, and to pay attention deeply to the come up to you. Because since you were probably schooled in conventional situations, you're going to find resistance because we're conditioned to recreate what we've experienced. So you're going to find it challenging, especially the more that you deviate from what's considered, real or legitimate schooling, right? And I think that a lot of like just compassion, honestly, for yourself is really, really vital to allow you to continue, and to continue in a way that still makes sense for you. The other part that I would say that's important is to understand that you're going to encounter resistance from people who love you, from people who are more likely than not. And it's sometimes going to be difficult to unravel the hooks that people have, because a lot of the hooks that are most effective are ones that we resonate with deeply. We all want the best for our children, right? We all want our children to succeed, whatever that means. And it's been helpful for me to make space for myself to really decide how I want to navigate that, and to trust that I can learn to get better at navigating it over time, right? Like the first time that somebody came at me with when my firstborn was a toddler, I was ready to fight in a very different way than I am now. Right? Like now I'm much more secure, if you like, in my choices, and I'm willing to allow people to have their shit without taking it on for them, frankly, right? So yeah, Saladin, please.
Yeah, to add on to what she was saying, I think it's important to find your tribe. And I think that's the importance of the Tribe Learning Cooperative, that you have a network of people who are learning and have learned this landscape and are more familiar with it than you would be in terms of a person that's just learning about wanting to take that step. So you get not only the resources, but you get the support that's necessary to protect you when it comes to engaging family members or friends or colleagues or whoever that may be anti what it is you're striving to do. You know, they can teach you all the right weaponry, the way to retort things that people say to you. They give you the confidence to be able to live on this landscape and to take it further in terms of reaching your goals. So that's very important, to make sure you find your tribe, connect with the resources that are necessary in order to support that journey. And in addition to that, it's important to learn about the history of our people, because when we talk about homeschooling and unschooling, these are more just contemporary words or phrases to describe what we've always done as a people before we were colonized and before we were made other than ourselves. And when you look back in history, you begin to see evidence of us being able to school one another and to have that trust and that confidence in each other and that sense of love and support. One of the reasons why we have so much fear today and so much disbelief and confidence in ourselves is because we're disconnected from our people. But the more that you learn about the indigenous people and the classical civilizations and how we were able to father and mother civilizations and a lot of the beautiful things that we've done and still do to this day, it gives you the confidence, the esteem. You also get the support from the tribe, and that helps you be able to achieve your goals. So all of that is also very important to that process as well.
That's so true. I see this journey not as like homeschool or unschool. Actually, I don't even use the word school because it has nothing to do with my life. I'm just raising my children, and like just the same way when they were born and I showed her how to latch on, and then I showed her how to do baby-led weaning, and then I showed her how to tie her shoelaces. Now I'm showing her calculus, and it's just part of raising my child. And I think that to default, to spend more time with your kids is better, in my opinion, than not. So however that looks, whatever iteration that takes, just being with your kids more is the strongest foundation you can give them. So.
Can I add one more thing? One other thing that I think is important too is always to incorporate service learning in that model as well, because our children also need to understand that you're world citizens, and it's important that the purpose that you find in life is transmutated into a contribution in order to bring some more beauty to the human family. We don't want children that's going to grow up and not feel as if they're responsible for this planet and for the rest of the human family members. And service learning, or getting them involved in activities where there's volunteerism going on, where they're working in creating community gardens and they're doing all of these various different activities that literally connects them not only to the planet but also to their other human family members. And then the other side of that is socializing them to the degree where they understand that there are other children that are not on this journey at all, that they're going to have to come in contact with.
Yep.
They're going to have to learn how to engage. And that is vitally important because we're not raising children on an island. They're going to be growing up in a society and being amongst people and parents that don't even talk to their children or that feed them all kinds of stuff in the morning time. And it's important that they understand that they're not better than other children, but because of their journey, they're being led to be stewards of humanity in a way that other children are not learning. And there has to be a component of compassion there, as
Yep.
well as empathy and service to the human family members.
I really appreciate the way that you phrased that, Saladin. I really, really appreciate that. Um, if you all need to exit, we can allow you that space if you want to say any final goodbyes. Otherwise, we can transition into some more questions to hear from our other panelists.
I just want to say thank you so much
Um,
again. Appreciate this conversation. It's so needed. And I will definitely be tuning in to see the replay so I can hear more wisdom from all the folks who are here and sharing about their experience. Thank you so much. You can find me at Ajira almost everywhere. And I hope to connect with y'all and continue the conversation as well. Bye, y'all.
Bye. Thank you, Ajira.
Bye.
Peace. I just like to say thank you as well for inviting me to be in this space with all of you. And also, anything that you need, how I can assist you, let me know. And I'm saying this so that it is recorded because I'm telling you that straight up. So hold me to that. Whatever that I'm able to do, I will do it. So thanks again. And I appreciate you just having me in this space with y'all. Peace.
Thank you.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate you too.
Yes.
Okay, so that's like our little intermission of sorts. Again, I invite you all to take any deep breaths that you need, stretch any parts of your body you haven't stretched, take a sip of water. This conversation is only halfway done. So I wanted to pause and just ask Mama Kaiya if you've been keeping track of anything in the comments just to make sure that there are no questions coming in. I see like a few affirmations and
Yes,
acknowledgments and things, but I didn't see any questions.
yes. So we did have some questions. I'm the techie, so I'm trying to toggle and and look. But we have a question. It says, "Yes, how did y'all start, and what does your day to day look like, especially for folks who work full time with littles?"
Can I also add on because we were going to ask a similar question? How are folks multitasking, like the various roles that you play in your family's life? So, parent, facilitator, and guide of learning. Perhaps you have a business or multiple businesses. Perhaps you have a full time job. So, yeah, when you're thinking about your day to day, if you can include as many details as you feel comfortable about how you are moving with all those parts.
I want to tap
Yeah.
in for. Oh wait, can y'all hear me? Because we good?
Can hear you now, but it's not as good with the headphones, unfortunately. Thank you for being flexible.
Can y'all hear me? You can hear me? Good.
Yes.
That I can hear better on the headphones. Apparently, but I wanted to tap in on the question, like day to day from flow perspective, because just maybe kind of backwards, but because version as I am, for me to have some sort of schedule, some sort of through, and then also having grace for myself
an understanding that it's not going to be to the teach me a nice little, you know, something I do achieve the task that I want to achieve. I do multitask. Started, and when like my exactly how the flow came from me, looking back and in hindsight, over time was just like knowing my full purpose is, which someone, but first for me to do that, I need a system is, and one second, get your for me. I need to actually is like what am I break my opting out of? What was wrong with that system? What I didn't like me, for my children, for my family. Well, like what parts were
Lissah, can I pause you for a moment?
Yeah.
Can I pause you for a moment? So
Yeah.
I feel like I really want to hear everything that you're saying, but there is something odd happening where it's like every other word perhaps is getting cut off. Is that for everybody? Okay. And I'm not sure how to troubleshoot it exactly.
See close.
It's sounding good. Give us more.
Hear me now? A little better? I
Yes,
really don't
it
know
might just be like a
what that's
connectivity
about.
thing.
Yeah, it's dropping.
But when you're closer, it is better, at least on my end.
Is it better now that I'm closer? A little bit closer?
Ooh, yes. Go ahead.
Yes. Okay. That might be it. It was on my ring light, and so it's not that close. So yeah, so what I was saying, quick recap, was assessing what the current system is. So that meant for me, like looking at what was actually working. Well, first, what was not working. Why am I divesting from this? Like, what am I opting out of? And then also seeing, like, you know, like I said, what wasn't working for me, what wasn't working for my children, what wasn't working for my family, and then seeing what was, because there are things that were, you know, productive or helpful about, you know, the, I guess you could say, conventional schooling system. And so just seeing like what those things were, and then just finding some sort of balance between that. So like someone said earlier, just saying what do I want to achieve? What do I want my child to achieve? What are their interests, and how can I incorporate those into this, for me, curriculum, you know, that I'm creating for my child. And as far as like the day to day, I created a sort of schedule. You know, I wanted to start somewhere between 9 and 10. Like I said, open and flow, because I know I'm not always going to fit. I'm not the always on time person. I'm not super rigid in how I move. But if I know sometime between 9 and 10, I can get started on this task, that also helps me to gauge the rest of my day. So if I have an appointment, you know, if I have a client that I need to tend to, or if I have these other things, I know that I've spent a certain amount of time in learning, and then we can all also have that time, because my children work so much better with the routine, in terms of actually getting things done, some of the things that we have as goals for the day. And that includes, you know, cleaning up, that includes learning time, that includes their free time, which they really value, you know. And so having some sort of schedule really helps for me. So the way I do it, you know, a typical day for me is, you know, we wake up, we have a little chill time, we eat. Around 9:30 is when we start our like learning time, and we do basically 2 hour subjects. I try for each subject. I like to do some sit down work, you know, some like writing work or some like reading, where they're, you know, practicing just like being in an environment of stillness or just like focus, concentration. And then after that, we do more hands-on things. So a project, something with art, something where we're actually going outside. They're able to engage, you know, more physically, because I have two boys and they want to be all up in it. So we do that to just kind of incorporate what they're learning in terms of reading and writing, and then like how that's applying in everyday life. So an example of that is like maybe our lesson is on like literally cleaning up the room, so writing, we'll write down the things that we have to do to clean up their room. So it starts with making the bed, putting all the toys away, this, that, and have them write that, so they're now taking control of, their remembrance, their memorization of the things that they need to do. Because it helps, for me, it helps the house flow for all of us. When we're all flowing, when the house is clean, just teach them that aspect as well. Like, we're not just doing this because we need to be by the book, but we're doing it because it helps us all. Don't you feel better when your room is clean? Can't you think a little more clearly? So just engaging them that way. So we'll do those type of things until about 12, and then we'll have like a lunchtime break, and then we'll get back into it for 2 more hours, and that'll be 2 more subjects, whether that's science or maybe we'll do some history, social studies, and then after that our day is done. In terms of learning, the learning specified day, that part is done, and then after that is usually when we'll actually do some of the cleanup things, and then it's just kind of free flowing for the rest of the day. And while they're free flowing, I'm usually doing the other things that I have to do, like taking appointments or making product or doing calls or Zoom, different things like that. So that really helps me to kind of dedicate a set amount of time to learning, to just their, that one-on-one, two-on-one time. And then that way I also have created all this other time for me, other people, that I'm also in community with, learning from. So that's kind of like what a day-to-day looks like for me. And I hope that provides some sort of aspect of getting started. I also did go through and decide what I wanted to teach, what I wanted them to learn about based on their interests, and kind of started out with just like an overall kind of like an outline for each like subject, you can say, math, reading, social science, and just kind of got an idea based on the things that they really need right now. Like I said, cleaning up, that was really important for us. Like, we have to learn how to clean up after ourselves. So based on that, I just created activities to do around that. But then I broke them down into kind of a week-to-week thing, and then you can break that down to a day-to-day thing. So I kind of start broad, and then I just narrow it down into these simple tasks or simple activities or assignments that they then complete. And yeah, so hopefully y'all can hear all that, and hopefully that helps.
Yes, we heard it all. Thank you so much for being flexible and willing to talk so closely to your device. We definitely appreciate that. I heard JJ starting to say something. I don't know if that thought still is like fresh for you.
Oh, I was just my day to day. I guess. So I'm a single parent, right? I'm doing this by myself, and I have 2 businesses. I have one that I make botanical wellness products, and another one where I actually give instruction to other self-directed learners, the children of parents who can't be with them during the day. So I help do their personalized lesson plans in a decolonized way. And I follow their interests and support them to where they want to go as well. So I get up around like 4 or 5 in the morning, and I make all my products and fill my orders and do all my gardening and things like that. And then I have breakfast, maybe I'll teach a class. My kids will probably come down around noon. They usually wake up around like noon if there's like nothing planned for the day. And all the plans are basically what they're interested in. They take so many lessons. They're Japanese, they take Chinese, they take Spanish, they take voice, they take it just keeps going. It's so much money to support their interests, but that's what I'm committed to do. So I do that. I do as much as I can on my own, and what I don't feel I can do, I outsource. And I have a wonderful network of friends and community who have so many talents to share with them. So fortunately, I'm able to pull from that, and they take lots of lessons with lots of different people. But then we just spend the whole day together after they come down at noon. And we cook together, we read together, we talk about current events. We talk a lot about, I see math as a language to understand science. And I'm like a real big STEM person. So calculus is like my language that I use to talk about physics, right? And so we talk about physics all the time. And because of that, we talk about math. And then they just play. They just free play, and then they end up creating all these things. They're just so creative, and they end up teaching me a lot because of that. And I don't really think there's anything I can really teach them except how to learn and how to gather information, because I think that the jobs they're going to do when they're older haven't even been invented yet. So I can't train them to do certain things because that doesn't even exist, right? So just teaching them how to use the internet in a safe way, teaching them how to interact with people, teaching them how to ask for help, teaching them how to navigate, not even teaching them, showing them, modeling for them how to navigate relationships. That's all I can really do besides just talking to them and being with them, and we just vibe off each other. That's it. And then I go to bed early, probably around like 9 or 10, and they're probably up until like 12 or 1 or something. And that's our day when we're in the States.
I love that. Sounds so free.
I wanna ask. We had another question, and it's kind of related. So, but I want to ask Lillian. I'm sorry if it seems like I am very slow with talking, but like I said, I'm trying to do two things. Lillian, we had a question. Someone wanted to know: is there a curriculum that y'all use as a go-to or started from scratch? And I wanted to ask you particularly because you like the OG with this. You got some experience from 7 to 21. So just fill us in a little bit about how that flows with you and your household.
No, I do not have any curriculum. I grab whatever I possibly can to teach my children. I am all about, you want to know this? I'm going to give you every available avenue I can get my hands on. If it's a person, a video, a book, whatever it is, I'm going to grab it for you. I really like how JJ was talking about individual learning, and that's how I teach. I mean, from the time I wake up in the morning, I'm reading, they're reading. But I also have curriculum, because when I say curriculum, I'm saying I'm grabbing the tools they need for the things they need to be taught in that day. So I'm structured in a way where I consider morning till afternoon my structural time, which is basically they're reading for 2 hours. We have breakfast, but during breakfast, I'm teaching character training. And then we move into more substantive stuff, which is math. But math can come through reading the newspaper, online, ALEC, because I do ALEC, that's an actual math program, time for learning. I use any avenue I possibly can to get that particular subject they should have at that age. And then afternoon is more about, like JJ said, lessons. I mean, I'm grabbing ballet, swimming, whatever they possibly can to get them all in whatever they want to learn. Duolingo, additional languages, stuff like that. I want to find out whatever they want to know, and then I grab the person or entity I need to teach them. So I don't really believe in curriculums, because I feel like curriculums in themselves are limiting, because they only teach you from that point of view. I'm saying grab whatever you can get your hands on for that child and teach it for that moment, because that's their particular journey they're walking on. It might be different. Some people teach the same curriculum for 10 years, but that thing has changed, just like people are changing. So I'm saying whatever that child needs to know, that's what I'm going to get them. So when they're reading for 2 hours, I'm grabbing all the books they need to know, curriculum wise, but also what they're interested in. If they're interested in, like my daughter, she went from crocheting, taught herself, from guitar lessons, taught herself, from art, from scribble people, I'm talking little stick people, to full-blown pictures. She can just sit there and draw you freehand. She taught herself that. All I did was give her the books or the person she needed to teachers. And I'm like, wow, thank you, Father God. I didn't know that this person was able to do that until you open up the whole world to them and find that tool and give it to them and let them unlock that gift that's inside of them. And so really, I'm teaching all year round. I don't take breaks. They take, I'm going to take a summer break. I don't do that. I teach every single day, all year round, on the weekends. If we find something, they say, Mom, this was really, getting on me. I use movies, shows. I'm talking about everything I'm talking through things. I'm one of the people who talk at the movies. I can't believe they did that. And then they feel the same way. And I'm like, why were you so angry about that? And they say, I feel this way. So now we're talking through emotions, all kind of ways you can teach a child. And that's what's so beautiful. We get to customize their education. And that education comes in all forms. And we get the gift to be able to give this to another human being. And it's such a blessing.
Yes, it definitely sounds like it. Thank you so much.
Yeah. I love
Oh,
it.
you know
Anybody
what?
else want to answer that?
Yeah, you know what? I want to hear from Mama Jessica, because Mama Jessica, you have a unique adventure, okay? And right now you are at Freedom Academy, right? You are a educator
Yeah.
there. You're also your children also attend, and so can you just give us a little bit of insight on like how that day goes? Your day to day with that, and then if there's curriculum implemented there, or just kind of how different is that from like traditional schooling?
Yeah. So when we started off with the homeschooling, where we basically our day to days we wanted to their body. Me, Kaiya, Nika, like we were big on, just teaching the children their body, because that is something we all need to know, to really tap in our higher self. So we started with the body, the blood, the heart, the digestive system, just being at our optimal state. So that's how we started when we were in aspect for showing my children was just like the balance. So we're having some changes. So like I had to, switch positions and, provide at this point. So right now I got hired at a African center. And now my children attend there, all three of my children. I have 3 children. It's a transition, very hard. Now we're going from pretty much how you all described, where we're just sourcing people. They had sewing lessons, swimming lessons, yoga, went from putting them in all those activities and joining groups to now you sit down in this advanced private school level. But I felt like I needed to make that decision because at the time our was kind of just transitioning. We were in that just try to teach 3 because we wanted to. We're still, growing our tribe, but we wanted to get sources and more information and go about it, which is why we're doing, just this private school, my day-to-days and them learning. I've always foundated them that this is a team effort. We are a team. So as far as like helping us with the cleaning, like listen, helping with taking care of each other. We're learning from each other. We're growing together. So that was something that I've instilled in them from, the beginning. So even now, because I've instilled that in them, even them going through this transition and they, had points where they hated it, they didn't want to do it. But I just reminded them that right now, mommy has to play this position for a certain amount of time, and you guys have to play and work with me. And they're learning. They're loving to learn now because they're around other children that are learning at these high levels. They want to compete probably, but it's helping me to create that desire for them to want to learn, to want to read, to want to engage in these activities that I had to, I was just putting them in these environments and they would do it. But now I'm seeing them like coming home, mommy, I want to do my homework. So even in the school, I'm still expanding my village. I'm still expanding my tribe because I'm there and I'm involved and I'm, with them on this journey still. But it's just a change in the environment and change in the way they're learning. But all in all, it's just our day-to-days I'm still learning how to create routine. I do because I needed that structure. I needed that discipline to get up and to, just create some routine for structure for my children, because I had 3 and they're growing and they all learning at different paces. And I was getting overwhelmed with and trying to maintain a marriage and a household. It was just like overwhelming. So this really created the structure that I needed to just keep them on track and to keep me on track. And now I would say we're, just, learning how to prep my meals for the week, learning, what meals I'm going to cook, things that we could do as just homeschooling moms, but I wasn't doing because I was just waking up, going with the flow, like, all right, what y'all want to eat? But now it's like, let me structure my week so that things can move smoother than what they were moving. I'm just on a journey, and I'm flowing with the needs of my family as a whole, because we both created these children. Women, we want, the best for our children, but at the same time, I'm trying to incorporate that masculine energy as much as possible, because I want that balance. That's my core. That's my why. It's like, make some balanced children, and I think I'll be all right. They'll be all right. They'll figure everything else out, because I'm gonna be there, and I'm gonna be there and just be there, being present, spending that quality time, like JJ was saying. Like, as long as you spend that time with them, you're gonna learn how to create what works best for y'all team, y'all family, y'all unit. Oh, creative too. They make stuff, paint carpets, they make cars out of.
Yep.
They do this on their own because they're best. So I love it. I love witnessing how they're developing, and knowing parents start to see that within your children. Just even y'all connection, y'all bond, where sometimes it's a disconnect with parents and child. I know I had that growing up because my mother had to work and she was just overwhelmed and she just kind of closed off. But I just, am at a place to be present and communicate with them. Like, yeah, I am overwhelmed, but I'm going to seek support so that it can balance things out. I'm breaking up.
No, you're not. You were earlier, but
I wanted to add something right quick, if you don't mind. I was going to say another thing throughout the day is I stick stuff in places. I mean, I just know as a mom is like this. If I'm doing a crock pot, I'm doing a crock pot in the morning while they're reading. I'm throwing the laundry in there, in the middle of the day, I mean, you do all the kind of stuff. You got to toss garbage, or you got to do the lawn. All that kind of stuff happens. You stick it throughout the day like you normally do in any situation. If you're at a job, you have to do assignment, you're sticking stuff where it got to be because something got to be done. That's how we teach our children. Say, hey, this has to be done in a day. Let's find out the best time we can stick it in. And only you know that for your family. When you think about it, you might get extra reading in one day, math in another day, clothes in another day. You say, okay, let's do everybody laundry, assembly line. And there's an assembly line of clothes. I mean, because we go through so many clothes. I'm talking 5, 6 loads of clothes a day, period. I'm washing. And I got an assembly line of people. Do. They literally got their baskets for their own clothes and stuff like this. And I say, right after reading or right after get your lunch, we have 15 minutes. Boom, bring them up. And they're bringing them up, and we dump as fast as you possibly can. Now put them in there, and that's what you do after in your free time. You find out what works for you. Your job as a parent is to say, I'm going to create this environment as family where we're loving each other, we're kind to each other, but at the same time, we're going to get what we got to get done, because that's how life is. Life is going to throw a whole bunch of stuff to you. You have to be able to handle it and get the best possible solution out of each day. And nobody knows that but your family. And so when you say practical ideas, you say, how can this day be most maximized? How can I do that? And that's something you have to figure out. How can I get the meals, get everything done, and still be healthy, happy children and sane adults throughout the day, Because it's a lot. I mean, women are called to do a lot. And I thank God for my husband, because he takes the weekends for cooking, but it's a lot for a woman to handle business, handle children, still raise them, and they still come out some kind of semblance and not look crazy, but don't take that all on yourself. They have to make right choices for themselves. I have to choose to learn, because you can give a child a book, but they have to put the information in them. You can give child lessons, but they have to actually take the lessons and actually do something with it. So don't take all that into yourself too when you think about a day.
That's such a good analogy of how to multitask, and that was actually going to be my question. So I'm so glad that you jumped in and said that, because one of our questions was, how do you all multitask? Many of us are like working from home, or you may even have a part-time job or a full-time job, or maybe an entrepreneur, or maybe a single parent, and so you juggling multiple hats. How are you able to multitask and just kind of fit everything in and still make sure that it's efficient? You're efficiently fulfilling all of your duties and responsibilities without being crazy, right? So
I'm telling you, assembly line works so much for groceries, for laundry, for everything. I am not playing. I assembly line everything. I mean, if I have to take Alina to ballet, then I'm going to grocery shopping during that time when she's in ballet. Then I'm while I'm waiting for her to pick her up, I'm sitting there reading books so I can increase my financial knowledge and increase my real estate business. All that kind of stuff like this, you constantly think about, how can I move ahead? When it's time for, if I got to make smoothies and juice because I want to put the best stuff in their bodies. I know that during their reading time, I'm juicing or smoothieing and preparing breakfasts, and I'm thinking about lunch and setting up dinner, that kind of stuff like this. So you have to find the time and say, I'm going to set up this for the little ones. I got blocks, pouring, sand, or whatever for the little ones. For the older ones, you set them on a computer thing for at least a certain amount of time, whatever, or during their lessons. And then you fit in all the other stuff in their day. So you don't have your weekends, you're sitting there swallowed by all the normal stuff of regular day. My philosophy is Monday through Friday, I'm trying to get as much out as we can for our household, so our weekends are casual for our family. Not me trying to clean up everything that has to be done during that week. I'm trying to fit everything in Monday through Friday, so Saturday and Sunday are our woosah days. Right. Let's woosah to the beach, and let's woosah to the park. Let's woosah to the skating rink. Let me go see this play with our children. Let's go to orchestra. I want to have that time where we're experiencing life together. And that means for me, life is sticking stuff as much as I possibly can through Monday and Friday. So we have those woosah weekends.
Right.
I appreciate it. I think that problem is definitely not unique to homeschooling or to this lifestyle. I really want to say mothers. I know that it's not always mothers, but it usually falls on us, right? I feel like mothers always have to be worrying about work and children and this and that. And it just keeps coming at you every second of every day. There's always responsibilities, and it's a trap. It's a trap. Like, you can't have it all, and you shouldn't try to have it all. You shouldn't try to do it all. We're human, and we just can't do it all. And we shouldn't be thinking that we have to do it all. We just can't. So there's a lot of things that just slide. Some weeks my house is immaculate, and other weeks they're not, depending on how it's just going. Sometimes I just need to sit in a ball on my couch and just watch TV. Like, sometimes it just, nothing happens. Balance is a question that we're never going to have an answer to. And I think the only thing we can really do is form communities and lean on our communities more, which is what I think we're designed to do as humans. Like, we're not meant to do this alone. And this whole concept of being in suburbs and everyone having their own house and everyone being so separate from each other has been a real detriment to us as mothers specifically. We're lonely, we're alone, and we're overworked, underpaid, underappreciated. There's nothing you can do. So I just give up. I mean, sometimes I look at everything, I just give up. And I just like, let's go, kids, let's hop on a plane. We'll just go somewhere for the weekend, or we'll go somewhere. If I can afford that, I can try to make that happen. Or I'll just drive, and we just drive. And we still have our same life, but we just change the location. We just change it and just switch it up. And then we come back and we feel rejuvenated and we just keep going again. But I don't think you could ever have it all. And I don't strive to have it all. I just want to have a good relationship with my good family and raise good people who, are just out there in the world.
Yes.
I'm serious. I tell people all the time, if you come over my house, you're going to get what you get. That's just how life is. You're going to get what you get. If we're watching Korean shows and just chilling, that's what we're getting right now. If we're in homeschooling, you sitting right at the table with us on the computers too. If we're out on the trampoline reading our books, because books are everywhere, that's what we're doing. If we're down the road skating, you catch us. This is life. And people think that I supposed to do everything every day. No, it doesn't get all done every day. And don't put that on yourself. Do the very best you possibly can with these children. And they'll start realizing, wait a minute, I could do this. Also, it teaches priorities. What's important for this moment? That's what's so great about homeschooling. We can customize our own education for our children. Their whole way of seeing things can be just totally molded from saying, hey, this is how life is. Sometimes it's predictable, sometimes it's not. Roll with it and do the very best you possibly can.
Yes, yes. We have a couple of comments, and Jessica, you hit on this earlier. The balance is off because we men aren't there. I agree. I agree. And this person also says it's because of a lack of education on our part, and it's also a lack of care for each other. So I know before Saladin popped off, he was, he had said, or he had posed the question about, like the role of the men in, our learning environments. I'll just say that to encompass everything. And I know we kind of talked a little bit about it, but I just would throw in there, my husband's role has always been the financial backer. And I am so appreciative of that because, well, number one, he's my partner, right? So I have one who's here, and he, him financially backing me is allowing me to be with the children, be with them, and actually, observe them. That's the one thing that I've appreciated the most in homeschooling. And just homeschooling, being at home, whatever you want to call it, just learning from their birth. I have been able to be a very watchful mother and allow them to lead in some instances and shape them in other instances, and it's because I'm here. It's because I'm actually present and I can see them for 8 to 10 to 14, 16 hours out of the day, however, 24/7 pretty much. But I'm not complaining. I'm just saying I'm finding the gratitude in my experience, and I don't think that I would have been able to have this same journey had he not been in the position that he's in. Or if I did, I would probably be experiencing another type of stress. Because you never really get rid of stress. It just changes and it just morphs into something else, just like children. You ready for them to crawl, and then they start crawling, and now you're ready for them to walk, and then they get into something else, and it's like, oh, okay, the challenge just changes as you grow. So I just need to adjust and just adapt, and that's just kind of how I felt, with my journey. So I didn't get a chance to answer that earlier, but I definitely wanted to answer it now. And this person who posed that comment, like, I appreciate it because I do think so. I think that is a common theme that runs in a lot of women, female-led households with, they don't have the help. They don't have the support. And even sometimes you have the man there and it's not enough help. So like someone was saying earlier, we're supposed to be living in communities. The weight of the responsibility should never have rested on just one person's shoulder or two people. And that's something that I know, like, whenever I'm having tension, or like, maybe the children are just being really rambunctious, or I have a very, very like fiery, spirited 6-year-old who she just stands her ground on everything. She's just a contrarian, really. And my husband and I are talking about it. We kind of get to the solution that, we are both stressed and we are both stretched to our ends right now because the community is not involved. And I'm so glad that we have the tribe because it has at least eased some of that stress. But we're not living how we were living 1,000 years ago, in little enclaves and villages and all that. We're not living like that. And hopefully, as society progresses forward and more of us are moving in this more non-traditional, non-colonized way, we can kind of maybe get back to that. So I just wanted to throw that out there really quick.
Yeah, I wanted to share one thing, if you don't mind. I was talking about, I love my husband. He's a patent attorney, and he's so grateful that he can be here at home. So when I have issues with stuff, I tag him in. I'm like, baby, you got Andrew right now. in his decimals. You got him right now. And so I'm grateful that I have this ability to say, hey, like he'll see, like even right now, he made dinner because I said, sweetie, I got to be on the studio thing today. And he said, oh, sweet, don't worry about it, I got dinner. And so that's why I'm grateful for that. Now my older sons are like, Mom, don't worry about it. We'll get dinner. I'm like, Lord, thank you so much. So you start realizing that you're creating human beings to say, whatever the needs are of the group, we're
Right.
going to meet them. And that's what we're doing. We're trying to teach them not to be all about themselves, introspective, to be all about other people. And I just realized that if I'm all about other people and I teach them that I'm not going to put everything on my shoulder, we're going to work as this and as a community in this family. I'm not the only one making dirty dishes or messing up beds. You are. So you're going to clean up your situation as a family unit. And that's what's so grateful about this, that I thank God that I have a husband there who's saying we're going to work together because both of us made these children. Some people say, only one person, but both of us made these children. So you right in there with us, but he takes care of financial part, but he also tags teams for all the other stuff too, so I'm grateful for that.
Mm-hmm. I was just gonna share regular mantras that I have in because of the fact that I do things and I think I have to get it all done. I've gotten in the habit of saying is I've done enough. And just letting that be that enough, and I've done it well. And yeah, maybe on my list for today, but then it's okay. Everybody's alive. Everybody's eating. Everybody. I think I would want to say your name wrong, but I think days is just like we need a break today. Like forget the work. Let's go to the mountain. Let's see what we can find. But sometimes it's just like that. Some days, like I have a list. Like I'm gonna have start a nice brainstorm and just like let mind. Like I need to do this. I need to email this person back. Blah blah blah. So I used to struggle, especially at the beginning of with feeling like I need to cross everything off that list before I stay up till 1, 2 a.m. just to make sure that just what didn't work. It wasn't worth filming because then I'm feeling this pressure now. I'm literally putting on myself. I do not have to do all of this. I'm putting that pressure on myself. Now I'm projecting it onto my partner. Now so just getting into that as well and letting that be literally enough has just being okay together all the time because I am also a solo parent. And, I have had the experience of having a partner. Easier it was when I was doing that, and for a to have the same output as I did then. I am just one person. So that's nice. I really advise people who are getting into this journey, kind of like me in that respect, to saying like I've done enough and I've done it well and everything.
Thank you, Lissah. Thank you for sharing. And I think pretty much what everybody has shared up to now, like there are a few themes coming through for me. Resilience and remembrance. And I don't have a good word for this right now, but unlearning this idea that we need to do it all or have it all together, maybe perfectionism. Dismantling that's kind of coming through. And I wanted to uplift it because I think oftentimes when people are transitioning to different ways to like hold their learning or to be on a learning journey, they bring the same mindset that maybe they kind of embarked on like traditional schooling, which is like this idea of competition, scarcity, and mastery of like all things, almost like a hoarding of information, and then like a hierarchy of like what's worth learning and how to do it right, and being afraid to mess up or start over. So just a lot of what you're sharing around being able to say, like, I mean, how often, in our history have we been able to just be like, that's enough work for me, I'm gonna just put that down.
Yep, I'm
I feel
done.
like that is just so, like, talk about reclaiming your humanity, to be able to just say, I'm tapped out. Like, that's all I have. What I've given is good enough, and I'm remembering that I am more than what I can produce. And it's okay if I like fall off today, because I could pick it back up sometime, and that isn't tied to my inherent worth or value just because I need to take pause or pivot or rest. So that's coming through from just what you all are sharing, and I wanted to uplift it. And it's making me think about how, like, this journey of learning in non-traditional ways, we really get an opportunity to not even solely focus on the children or what they're learning or how they're learning, but we do get this opportunity to kind of tune into ourselves. And I think a lot of parenting, it feels like it's like so selfless, and like you just gotta be a martyr. And I think that that's just perpetuating this larger theme of, like, like, we don't have feelings or needs, or everything that we do, especially if you're a person of color, or if you're like a Black femme, like, you're seeing it's like you're for everybody all the time, so, like, even having boundaries for your own children and the ways you show up feels really important right now, and some of the things that we're talking about. And so it's making me kind of just ask this question to myself. And so I wanted to ask it to you all. It's like, what has this journey allowed you to learn about you? So aside from all of the extracurriculars and the lessons for the children and how to get started and balance and everything, but just on a human level, like, what has this journey provided you an opportunity to learn about yourself or about your life and your humanity?
Well, I guess it taught me patience. It taught me to slow down. It also taught me that I'm neurodiverse, which I wasn't aware of before. It was just I had all these systems to get through the day in the way that I was, but then having all these two chaotic people that have their needs, it made me have to evaluate who I was and why I do the things that I do and why the system needs to be this way, right? And having ADHD with all the balls in the air, it's no joke when you add children into the equation. And so, and then also finding out about their neurodivergence just because it blends in families and we're all, And so I learned that about myself, and definitely learning now tools to overcome certain things along with them. Other than that, I don't know. I feel like I've always known I was going to do this. Like, I finished school when I was like 15, and I always hated it. I always knew school wasn't going to be for us. So I, traveled the world and did what I had to do. And now I get to do it all over again and see it through my kids' eyes. So that to me is just the joy of it. But I'm not really learning more, I think, except for what they teach me.
Thank you. And everybody is welcome to answer this, because this is probably our last question.
I would let me grab my also say that was the first thing I wrote down. Patience. I actually put lack of patience because I definitely still come face to face with my lack of patience. So, like, unpacking that. Also being I see and just me being really having patience, people not having patience for me, just the way that I did things differently, the way I expressed myself, little and myself, often in trial and error, then projecting that. I think someone said oftentimes, like, if we don't unpack recreating the same system or recreate, and like in a non-extreme way, out in little ways, and just how sometimes my sometimes other how that affects, how I'm demonstrating, how I'm responding. We just had to learn to take. I've known for a long time, but being able to embody some of those things, like, okay, stop, take a breath. Like, you're frustrated, like, we need to take a breath. I need to take a friend and my friend, right, watch TV for a moment, and giving myself grace. A big thing, like giving myself for not, and at the ways that some of the conditions, even though I'm out of those conditions, they still, and working through them, and also being very open, going through that process and letting them know, hey, my day today is really not you. Like, I'm struggling today, giving them more space to be able to tell me that, like, I'm just today. And so I would say there's some of the things that have come up for me for years, especially even more this year, getting back into our routine. These are some of the things that have been on my mind and that are coming. I'm definitely going to sit down with again and unpack through. So
I was thinking that everyone is not on 10 like I am. That's what I really learned about myself. I'm an 10 person. And if there's a scale of 100, I'm probably 200. And I realized that I had to learn how to enjoy the zone that people were in. And my children taught me that. I learned that they're on 5, I'm on 20. And I have to come down to make sure, or if they're on 20, I have to be 5 because I have to learn calmness. And I had to learn how to navigate my own emotions while growing them up. And that was challenging. It's challenging not to be on, I'm like, you should already have it after 3 days of multiplication and they still don't have it. And I have to train myself, no, they're on a different level of learning. They're on different, and I have to woosah, come on, woosah moments. I had to teach myself woosah moments because I was always like, I have to have it done this way. And my children have really taught me how to slow down, enjoy the moments, speed up when I need to, and literally enjoy life, because we only have one life and I don't want to waste it, and I don't want them to waste it, and I want to make the most of those moments. And some of those moments I feel with actual work, and then other moments are just being together and enjoying those moments. And that's what taught me enjoy those moments. I'm always and I have to sit there and enjoy, pillow it, hug, talk, look into each other's eyes and say nothing. All those things they taught me instead of saying, come on, do something,
Yeah. I can relate to you on that one, Lily. Being on 10, I feel like I'm on 10 too. And sometimes I'm a drill sergeant. Okay. I would say that's probably my baseline, is being a drill sergeant. And I think one of the things that I've learned, or my child has taught me, and I just say child, although I have children, but I have a 1-year-old. So I'm not putting flashcards out there in front of them right now, like, this is A, we chilling right now, he and I. But my 6-year-old, she has taught me compassion. She's teaching me compassion. I'll say that, because I think, we are so much alike, and she's like a mirror, really. Like, when I start thinking back to like how I was when I grew up and everything, like, I could see why my mom was so frustrated. Like, yeah, I'm here with the grades. She ain't never have to say nothing to me about that. But everything else, it was just kind of like, come on, girl. We was just always butting heads. And so now I'm kind of going through it, like the old folks say, you're going to reap what you sow, or wait till you have babies, you're going to get it. I see that now because I'm getting it, and it's allowing me compassion and forgiveness. I'm forgiving myself. I'm forgiving my mother. I'm forgiving, my daughter. So it's a lot of that that's kind of going on. And it's just good soul food, really. That's just kind of where I'm at right now, with my whole homeschooling journey, which has allowed me to go from being a very rigid, like, no, homegirl, you need to be reading now, Although she is very advanced, I'm giving the girl her props. She got it on her mental. But I've gone from that level to, what, this season we could free school.
Seasons. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We just move in seasons. It's like, okay, the spring, we just kind of waking up a little bit or whatever. It's not as fast as the summertime. What you want to do? It's still a little chilly in the house. I want to do this. Okay, well, let's do that. And then in the wintertime, we kind of slow down a little bit. Summer and fall, we go, go, go. So I'm just kind of flowing. I'm learning how to just flow and allow her to take the lead sometimes. And that has allowed me to just open up other portals and windows, in my other eye to kind of see her for who she is and not necessarily who I want her to be.
And I'll just say real quick that what TD Jake said, he said, as a parent, you realize you get to a point where you realize that you and God are co-parenting. So I love that, because it's like, like you said, he's using the children, he's using you, he's using your mother, he's using your father's experience, he's using every experience you've, had since you've been born and they've been born to get y'all to come back to God's will. So my children keep me remembering that I'm not all in control. It's me and God. We co-parenting. Okay. So that's all I'll say. That's what this is teaching me. It's bigger than me. It's bigger than us.
Hey, we're not doing it by ourselves. That's for sure.
So it's 9:00. Mama got groceries on the counter.
01. It's 10:01 over here. So I just wanted to just invite everybody to take a collective breath. Anybody that's witnessing along with us, just breathe in what felt good, what you want to take with you, because our panelists have been so generous in just sharing not just, perspective, but like their lives. And much to the point that JJ made, it's like, we were never meant to do this all alone. And that's the reason for having this conversation, so that some of our community members can see folks that look like you, or maybe might be living through your similar circumstances, and see how we are navigating this imperfect path that is unique to our lives and our families. So breathe in what you want to take with you, and breathe out what you want to leave here for others to get. There's enough for everybody. And I just wanted to give a special shout out and thank you to all of the panelists for coming, for dedicating your energy and your time. And I wanted to just bring everybody's attention to their information that we have been putting in the chat, as well as across the screen, just so that if you want to connect, or if you want to check out their business, or just kind of see how they're moving in their learning journeys or what have you, that you can do that and stay connected. And Kaiya, I don't know if you want to share anything else before we just go.
You pretty much covered it. I just want to say thank you guys for coming. And if you've been rocking with us for the last 2 hours, thank you for your commitment and your dedication. And I hope that this was nutritious. Okay. I hope that you got well hydrated with this conversation. And I hope that you go back and listen to it, because there might be some things that you missed. I know I will. If you look down at the sticker that's going across, we have our GoFundMe. We are raising funds. That is my son. Okay, he's letting me know it's time for me to go. So we're raising funds right now to help with the Tribe Learning Co-op, which is an evolving village of networking resources. And if you want to take a look at it, the link is right there. I'll also put the link in the chat, and we'll put it in the description, so that when you go back and rewatch this, you can actually access it easier.
Yes. We'll put everybody's info in the description. Thanks for that. You know, we are experimenting with this virtual realm and all the etiquette and whatnot. So
Right.
thank you all for being here. Thank you so much. I hope that you have ease and sweet dreams and whatever you want to have in your night.
Bye,
Peace,
ladies.
everybody.
Bye. Bye.
Thank y'all. Y'all have a great night.
Thank you too.